Sitting down for a lovely little dinner here. I was listening to Caleb Maupin's live stream, his little chat. And I got back from a bike ride, so I'm a little bit hungry. So I made these delicious, fairly nutritious as well, sandwiches. So local bread, um, organic, whole grain. We got some lettuce from the garden. We got some homemade pickles from last year. We need to start making more because we're almost out. And oh my god, once you have had homemade pickles, like I just don't know how you could go back to store bought. Honestly, hummus, mustard, nutritional yeast, which is that stuff. Also cheesy flavor, and then some tofurkey, and then avocado. And this is what I'm munching on. Made 3 of these. I've already ate one. Oh, super good. We'll do a little taste test here for you. It's damn good. Damn good. Washing it down with some spring water. Pretty cool shit. Pretty polished done. So good. The only thing that could, I feel like, improve this would be some tomatoes from the garden, which are getting close. For some reason, at least the tomatoes in the greenhouse at my dad's place aren't doing as well. Maybe because the plastic that's been covering the greenhouse for a while is 3 or 4 years old at this point. It's kind of grimy and maybe not letting in enough light. Also, we had a deer or deers, at least one deer, go into the greenhouse and munch on almost half of the tomatoes, basically stunting their growth. So that didn't help. But I'm gonna go there tomorrow, see how the cucumbers are. Hopefully, bring some tomatoes back to put on some sandwiches. Anyway, just a quick little delicious vegan sandwich recipe because I am vegan, if you did not know that, for since 2008, March, April-ish, 2008, so what is that, 13 years? Something like that. Anyways, much love. Hope you're able to eat something delicious and nutritious that makes you happy tonight, and no judgment if it's not nutritious. I think a lot of us, me included, get away from this disordered eating habits and mindset, and not be so Puritan about stuff. I think, anyways, if whether you're plant-based or not. And just how disgusting is it that in a capitalist society, kept under a capitalist economic order like we have in the United States, we have more than enough to give people food, all the time, man, woman, child, everybody else, and yet, we have millions of people, including children. It's probably close to tens, maybe even close to 100 million people who don't always know where their food is going to come from, and yet we waste 40% of the food in the U.S. because, again, under a capitalist system, profit motives get placed before literally feeding people, housing them, giving them health care, education, mental health, access to being able to grow their own food if they want, arts, etc. The profit motive is placed before all of the needs of people, and obviously of the natural world as well. And just how disgusting. Just absolutely disgusting, that is. That's why, again, under socialism, that is an economic system where there's no longer a profit motive. The economy is centrally planned to meet the needs of the people, to meet the societal needs. Socialism. I mean, again, if you're not for socialism, like, really, like, how could you not be, frankly? Unless you're still really buying into that, propaganda that Biden or Republicans or liberals feed people about how, capitalism is this great thing and it does so much good around the world. I mean, God, I don't know why anybody would still be drinking that fucking shit Kool-Aid at this point. But I understand there's a lot of propaganda out there as well. That's why it's important to call out the horrors of capitalism, imperialism, and white supremacy, and how all three of those things are intricately connected. Anyways, little sandwich talk, little political talk, because again, life is political. Like the great historian Howard Zinn, rest in peace, said you can't be neutral on a moving train. You need to be able to speak up, speak your mind about any injustice, every injustice that is happening, but also find things to do that lift you up, because you can't get too bogged down by all the bullshit that is going on in the world, and there's a lot, including in the United States, and I'm definitely very, very advantaged in a lot of ways by my position in this settler colonial state, being, a white person, being middle class, college educated. My parents are a resource. I have grandparents that are a resource. Like I have a great, partner who's also has a college education, works really hard. So I'm definitely very advantaged in a lot of ways. But I recognize a lot of people don't have that under this capitalist economic order in the United States and in a lot of places. But there's obviously a lot of other examples out there of countries, being socialist countries and doing really well by their people, especially the most vulnerable, the marginalized, the working class, indigenous groups, etc. Look at Cuba, all of which they've been able to do while being under this economic blockade by the United States for 60 years right now, something like that, right? They have universal health care. They have universal higher education. They have higher literacy rates than people in the United States. They have a lower infant mortality rate than the United States. They have a life expectancy that is very similar to the United States. All the while they're this small country, 10, 11 million people, right? And the U.S. has been trying to, overthrow this revolution, fund all these color revolution type things, trying to stir up trouble because they don't want a successful socialist country so close to the U.S. You could also say the same thing about, China and socialism with Chinese characteristics. They've been able to do a lot of amazing things there. Like they eliminated extreme poverty. Was it in 2020 or 2021? But either way, like, how amazing is that? In a country of over 1 billion people, they have gotten everybody out of extreme poverty. Like, that is amazing. It really goes to show how effective, socialism with Chinese characteristics has been for the working class, for the vulnerable, marginalized in China. And that's not to say, China is perfect or Cuba is perfect or anything like that. but it is to say that we could learn a lot from these different socialist systems that are, obviously trying to get towards, communist society at one point, because again, China, the one party there is the Communist Party of China, the CPC, which just celebrated their 100th anniversary, right? Which is pretty, pretty amazing. Their infrastructure is like head and shoulders above the United States. They have trains there, I think, that go like 300 kilometers an hour, 180 miles an hour or so. We, the U.S. equivalent would be the fucking Amtrak that does like 55, 60. I mean, Jesus Christ. And they've, I think, I was reading, I think last night in Bread Tube Serves Imperialism, that the China system, this, socialism with Chinese characteristics, has lifted 800 million people out of poverty. 800 million. That's almost 3 times the population of the United States out of poverty. What has the capitalist system done in the United States? It has made it so where if you don't have health care, you could literally die. Tens of thousands of people die each year in the US because they don't have health care. Massive amounts of medical bankruptcy as well due to people having medical debt. That is, like, I mean, Canada is not socialist, but they have universal health care. But, I mean, them not being socialist may be one of the reasons the United States hasn't tried to overthrow them, right? Let's see. You could get shot dead if you are a person of color, particularly a black person, particularly a black man in the United States, simply for the crime of being a black person in the United States. Again, the United States was founded on the genocide of the indigenous people that were here and thriving and living in, harmony with the natural world, with the natural ecosystems, as well as obviously founded on the enslavement of the Africans. A vast majority of the quote-unquote founding fathers owned slaves. That's why it's so, like, do people not realize how completely sick and disgusting that is? Like, how could you look up to somebody like George Washington or Thomas Jefferson? I mean, Jesus Christ. So, I mean, just look at all, and then the ills of, imperialism, which Lenin, talked about as being the highest stage, the highest form of capitalism. When basically capitalism goes global and tries to exert its authority through things like wars, things like economic sanctions, loans from the World Bank or the IMF, where these countries have to, privatize and deregulate, basically institute this, neoliberal policy agenda, firing public workers, etc. And, that's also what the U.S. exports. Cuba exports doctors, the U.S. exports sanctions and bombs and drone strikes and imprisoning Julian Assange, the world's largest prison population, but the U.S. is the land of the free. Like, give me a fucking break. They call it the American dream because you have to be asleep to believe it. At least that's my perspective. But again, I didn't always have this kind of critical anti-imperialist leftist lens. It came through world experience, reading, obviously, consuming content like this by various people, whether it be, Boots Riley or, Danny Haifong, Rania Kalik, Walter Rodney, Vladimir Lenin, Michael Parenti, George Jackson, Huey Newton. I was just looking at some of my books over there. Gerald Horn, there's a huge long list of amazing leftist writers and thinkers out there. And again, you don't have to agree with what everybody says, but I think, it's important to, listen and maybe make common ground. And sometimes you do have to compromise. Never on, what was it, Lenin? Was it Lenin or Marx who talked about you never compromise on theory, but you can kind of, don't compromise on your, principles or ethics, basically. But if you have to make some type of, adjustment or agreement in order to, get the movement forward, then that's good, as long as it's not causing, any undue harm to, let's say people or something like that. That's the gist of it. I kind of butchered it, but, you get the point. Anyways, I don't know how eating a sandwich got me to talking about who some of my favorite writers and, activists and revolutionaries and influences on my, worldview and politics. But there we are. You come to the channel, you get sandwich talk, and then you might, hear about Michael Parenti. Or something like that. Let's see. Yeah, I'm just rambling at this point, but it was fun to talk about sandwiches and socialism and the ills of capitalism and capitalist propaganda and all that stuff. But I'm going to go finish eating these and probably drink a kombucha as well. Going to do a live stream tomorrow at 7:30. Just got to make sure I get all my stuff done tomorrow so I have time to do that. So I got to be diligent about getting some homework done. But I hope you have a good night. Hope to see you jump on the live stream, even if it's just for a little bit, to say hi. Always cool to interact with people that consume my content, and it's always much appreciated. All power to the people. Like the video if you like the damn video. Subscribe for more content. If you really are feeling extra supportive, I will leave the link to my Patreon down below. Become a patron, become a comrade. $5 a month, $10 a month, become a Uber comrade. Both get access to exclusive content on my Patreon, and the Uber comrade, I will also give you a shout out during live streams and videos I make for my Uber comrades that support the channel. So I already got one. It is my partner, but that is pretty cool. So much love, all part of the people. Peace.